Okay, guys, we're going live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tom here with Robin from Accountants Therapy. Today is our very, very special HMRC and ATT webinar where we're going to be going into the technical details of MTD, and we are joined today by some very recognisable faces. So if you'd like to come on, guys, we'll say hello. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So, Robin, obviously, most people know you as the face of Accountants Therapy. What you don't know about MTD isn't worth knowing, but please introduce yourself to those that don't know you.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, so for those that don't know me, I started Accountants Therapy when I got angry on a webinar, which had Craig as one of the guests back last February, because I was frustrated at the lack of practical information out there for MTD purposes and the lack of availability for us to come together and go, oh, this is so confusing and I don't like this aspect and what am I going to do? And I didn't realize quite how many people felt the same as me. So I set up a WhatsApp group. Lots of people joined it, and we are now called Accountants Therapy. And we span not just MTD, but lots of areas of practice because we have so many different things being thrown at us in industry that we realized that actually that little bit of venting and ranting was needed across the board. So if you would like any more information, if you don't already know about us, we've just launched a shiny new website, which you can find at accountantstherapy.co.uk and find out all the information about us. We're also offering a free month of membership to our community, which is mainly based on WhatsApp. And you can find that if you go to memberships and join now on that website. So let's crack on. We are tight on time today, so we're going to try and get through as many questions as we possibly can. Please use the question and answer box to submit any questions that you want heard. You will know if you're a member of Accountants Therapy that we are going to try and prioritise those from our members where possible. We have some pre-submitted questions too. But let's get everybody to introduce themselves. I'm sure our guests get introduced by other people lots of times, but I want to hear what they think about themselves from their own mouths. So, Craig, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would love to. I'd love to. So, Craig Ogilvie, I'm the chap at HMRC who's responsible for making tax digital. I have been for the last well over 2 years now. And apologies, I'm the person that wound Robin up and started this amazing group. So not apologies, it should probably a thank you because I think you're doing some really good work. And second apologies for the silly hat. Robin and Tom insinuated that I wouldn't be brave enough to wear this hat on a live webinar. So that's it. I won't tell you much about my backstory, but been in major government delivery for a long time and primarily around tax, which I'm incredibly passionate about and enjoy working in the open speaking, debating, not always agreeing, but trying to move HMRC and huge deliveries in the right direction, working with this fantastic industry. Thank you very much. Is we handing over to Sam now, Robin? Is that right?
Please.
Hello, everybody. So I think quite a lot of you should know me and Craig, but I'll just reintroduce. So I work in Craig's team at HMRC. I'm probably a little bit different from some of the other people in the team. I work with our agent community, but I am or was, I think I'll always think of myself as an agent. This is my chartered accountant certificate, which I proudly always have behind me because it's my biggest achievement. I worked the other side of the HMRC fence. So I was where you guys were for MTD for VAT. And I spend most of my time now speaking to agents, helping people get ready. And it's great to see everyone. I can also really enjoy the chat and see a lot of this. So Craig wore his hat, but I said that I would pop one of these on as well. So I don't really understand it, but I see a lot of it. So I don't know whether I'm making a faux pas here, but there you go. They said I wouldn't do it. There you go.
Thank you, Sam.
That's it. It's downhill
Great
from here.
start to a webinar, this. Yeah, I was going to say.
Emma, tell us about yourself.
Hey, so I'm Emma. I don't have any using props, so I really feel like I've just let the side down here, guys. Sorry about that. So I'm Director of Public Policy at ATT, so I oversee our technical and our professional standards work at ATT. ATT have made MTD a strategic priority quite early on. We do a lot of work to try and help not just our members, but agent community work their way through the transition into MTD. And I personally probably spend what is an unhealthy amount of time thinking and writing about MTD. So really nice to continue on with that theme.
Yes, you are the queen of MTD. I'm the superhero of accountants therapy. So now we've all introduced ourselves. Let's get going with some questions. And I have a few questions for Craig to start with. So first of all, a lot of the chat this week has been surrounding HMRC comms around MTD. We know some letters went out recently for those in testing in regard to payments on account moving over to the ASA. And we understand that there's going to be some more letters going out shortly to unrepresented taxpayers or all taxpayers who are going to be mandated, and that's going to be split. Can you tell me a bit more about that? But also, I think there's some nerves there from agents because of previous letters seem to have gone missing. And do you think that that's a problem with HMRC side, or do you think that's a problem with the postman?
So yeah, let me get cracking, and just for people listening, Robin has me well warned to be concise or she'll cut me off. So I'm going to do my very best to be concise. So like getting this communications absolutely is probably the most strategically important thing now, actually, because we've made great inroads in the tech and it's such a big program, but we need to make sure people are aware. I'm really confident that the awareness and the readiness is growing. I can see that from research that we get internally. I can see it from research in the external world. But fundamentally, now's the time where we have the actual data to be able to write to customers to say you're mandated. Up until now, we've had to use the world of data science, previous returns, etc., etc. So there is always the chance that we won't be 100% specific, but at the time, that was the right thing to do. So we're writing to all customers previously that were earlier filers before October, those that have done their return. So from February through to the end of the March, you will be receiving that mandated letter to confirm that you do have to comply. We're intensifying our approach with our second burst of paid for marketing. That's been all the insight shows me that's been successful. So you'll see that in places such as Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, digital displays, radio, print ads, etc. You'll also see the software market really upping the ante. I've seen my 10-year-old boy get excited the other day. Finlay ran through, I think there was a game in the Premier League where one of the developers is obviously advertising. We're seeing it on the back of buses. So we are genuinely doing what I think as much as we can at the moment. If you think there are things we should be doing that we're not, then I'm all ears. There is things we won't do, and I've always been honest about this, like primetime TV. There is 860,000 in the first year. I don't want to wake the sleeping giant of the other 12 million. We need to get that right. So there is a bit of balance. So targeted use of paid for marketing, targeted use across government communications, and recognising 76% are represented by an agent. So the primary focus is on the 24% of unrepresented. So we do have a comprehensive amount of suite of products. You can tell I'm going really quick here so that I get this right. But I think the other thing I'd say is we have wrote to people on the payment and account point, and we may get into this later in the call. But fundamentally, as you transition to a new uh, tax infrastructure, we have to bring customer data with us. So if you look in the MTD account, so the view and change account, that will show both the payment account and any balancing charge for the previous year. Some customers told us that the letter that's generated from the historical system that showed transfer to digital was a bit misleading, confusing. So we thought it would be right just to do a preventative letter just to say, just in case you are a wee bit confused, you should have seen it at the end of the turn. You can see it in MTD, but if not, this is where you find information, and we're working hard to make that even better for next year. Now we have been testing the service. We have had issues in the service, but for the scale that we're working at, I could not be more pleased with how the service has worked. But nor will I pretend that in 2 years of testing we will find things. That's the purpose of testing. And that's one example where we can listen to your feedback to make the service better for next year.
So in terms of the letters, etc., that we can expect our clients to be receiving, I understand that those copies of those letters aren't going to agents, but the professional bodies are publishing them so that we can see exactly what's going and when we can expect them to arrive with clients. Can we be assured that the clients will actually receive them this time? Because I think most people are pretty sure that the previous letters didn't arrive
Yeah.
en masse.
Well, I have heard instances where people have said they didn't get the letter, so I think that's a fair comment. But over a million letters, etc. I think we will have got it right 99% of the time, or more. So I think two things. One, yes, I can give you that assurance. Be quite happy because of the growing impact of this group to also give you guys the letters. I know it frustrates people where we decide sometimes not to, but I think two things. One, we co-design the letters with the industry now. I know, Robin, the first set of letters, you absolutely tore them to
I
shreds.
hated them.
So we're working to, as we always try to do. We can't get everything right, but we genuinely try really hard to get them designed by people that understand the industry, the likes of Emma that's on here, and quite happy as well as professional bodies to give you a copy of them, if that would give additional assurance.
I think you would find that actually we would have a lot of useful things to say if that's something that could be facilitated, particularly within therapy, accountants therapy. We tend to pour, you said it yourself, we pour over every word. We're going to see where there's something that could be improved. And we are the people that are in front of clients all the time to know which things they're going to listen to and which things they aren't. And we would certainly welcome anything that we could do to help with
We'll
that
definitely give you
communication.
advanced copies. I think there's just being really frank about it. Sometime in life, when you co-create something with too
Oh yeah.
many, it's called the pizza box. If you try to do things with more people than it takes to eat two pizzas, sometimes it's too many people. So I think I've got confidence that Emma and others get involved in that, and we'll talk about it offline, maybe, Robin, about what we can do. But happy to get you copies so that the people in your group are clear what's going on.
Thank you.
Can I just jump in as well?
Oh.
I was just about to say, I think that's a theme, right? Like we really want to work with people and co-create and work in the open. And I think as a department, that's something that we're on a journey towards. But I think in MTD, we've really been trying to model that, particularly over the last few years.
Yeah.
I think where we could be better and stronger, but I'm not quite sure exactly how you nail it right, is we do a lot of great work with the professional bodies and the software developers, but sometimes the actual accountants like yourselves, Robin, Tom, and the group, they don't see it or hear it. So us telling that
Mm,
story a little bit better. And you'll
yeah.
see me and Craig posting on LinkedIn and places like that. Part of that is to just, humanize and show that we are actually working behind the scenes and we are trying to listen to people, but it's not easy and we don't always get it right. And like Craig said, sometimes you can have too many people, too many voices.
Yeah. But I
I
think
can
that's a challenge for us as well, Sam, about making sure we're
Yeah.
making our members aware of what we're doing a bit better, because I think that's something we could do a bit better as well across professional bodies. Just on
Yeah.
the letters, I just wanted to mention something because I think it's something that I've seen creeping in as a bit of a misconception. Your clients don't need to have a letter to be mandated. These are not like an official notice to file. So if you think somebody is definitely in and they haven't had a letter, you don't need to wait for the letter, get them signed up anyway. So there's no sort of legal status. They're more sort of
I was
letting people know. Yeah,
I was going to say that
yeah,
those are letters which are not driving a legal status. If somebody is
yeah.
mandated, it's legally on the individual to assess their status and to do the sign up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that's client comms and comms dealt with. Let's move on. I would like to understand, Craig, you've been at the face of MTD for a long time. Has there any has there been anything about industry reaction that's really surprised you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took over well over 2 years ago, and like we've had a difficult delivery history in income tax. We've deferred it a number of times. So the industry, well, let's concentrate in the industry as accountants, bookkeepers, and tax agents, if that's okay. Because we could talk about software, but
Yeah,
you
no,
guys do enough on
we
that, right? But they were also at a sort of low point of where they'd invested and it hadn't quite got it where we needed it to go. So people were just disappointed, disillusioned, and they didn't believe it was going to happen. And I've covered this. So I think fundamental is to try and be competent and be honest and get to a point where people believe that it's happening. And I had to take the personal choice as the program director of this program that one way of doing that was to be really visible and invite people into our offices to not shy away from difficult questions, because fundamentally I believe that's the right thing to do. But in the early days, that's harder and a bit scarier because people were saying to you, well, why should we believe you? Because actually past history tells us this hasn't happened. So I think that fundamentally has changed where people, the vast majority, don't question whether it's happening. I've seen huge awareness spike. The awareness level amongst the industry is like genuinely 99 plus. but
But you
there's a
find that's
difference.
a surprise, or surely that's not a surprise because that's what you've been
Yeah.
working towards.
It is, but I think what I was sort of get to is in the point of sessions like this are really powerful is awareness doesn't win the day. Actually understanding what you need to do and understanding the finer points is the big challenge for us all, both in terms of accountants, bookkeepers, and also unrepresented people. So I think that growing belief that it's going to happen, that awareness, turning that into real activity, and like fundamentally, we don't agree in everything, Robin, do we? But the one thing I think we definitely are, or I definitely agree on, is the power of this group and the power of similar groups. And there was a debate at one point that somebody said, do I think it's the job of accountants to spread the word? Of course I don't, but I think that they're a phenomenally good industry for joining together and actually helping each other. And I think this group has been one of the kind of cooler thing that's happened. Actually, it's a kind of pillar now for people to be able to go to. But think back 2 years ago, even a year ago, that was not like that. Think back to that webinar that you described. We have came a long way. I know we've got a huge job to do, but for me, that's been the most pleasing thing. The big drive is sweat the detail, get ready. And even in the last week, I posted something on LinkedIn last night. Join the thousands who have signed up in the last few days. Like genuinely, thousands have signed up in the last few days. That's positive. It's not anywhere near winning, but what needs to be true to be one of those people, either as an unrepresented or an agent, that actually you're signing up early and you're embracing it, whether you love it, you're on the fence, or you dislike it, because there are still lots of people that don't love parts of MTD, and I get that. I absolutely get that.
So that's a lot of positive stuff. What gets you angry about MTD? What's a myth you'd like to bust?
So nobody will probably went and listened to any of the podcasts. I did one recently, and I talked a bit about my background. So my mum and dad were, like, to be quite, they were like hippies, right? And then instilled in me, like, the things I care about in life is genuinely kindness. And they were incredibly loving parents, low aspiration, right? So I very, very rarely get angry. And the people I get angry with are my two boys, and I don't know why. I think it's because I love them so much. I can lose it really easy. The only time where I use the word cross was when you published something about your displeasure at the soft landing, and I took it personally. And I don't normally,
I
I
remember
don't normally.
that.
It
I
was a big,
didn't
it was a
expect
big,
that to be your answer, actually, Craig. You've got
yeah.
me there.
It was a big learning thing for me though, because like I got so close to the detail of, I want to publish this early because I believe it's the right thing to do. We've never published it early so people can be clear, and there's it's a big decision actually. And I'd heard about 100 accountants in all my visits tell me, get this done, announce it early. And what I never sort of thought about at the time was why you or others maybe thought actually it's not the silver bullet and the great thing that maybe you think it is, Craig. So I get too close to the detail, and I kind of snapped a bit at you, didn't I? Which wasn't sort of, and that was behind closed doors.
I
But
don't
I
think
guess,
you did snap, Craig. I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself there. There was a healthy debate
yeah.
behind closed doors about why we were upset about the soft landing. And I think it was handled very well. And it is
So
definitely a
I was
learning
excited
curve.
about cross, but do you know the thing it taught me though was, like I always talk about two things can be true, and I don't really like black and white because I think the world's grey. And actually, what you were exhibiting at that point was actually, Craig, while there's really good reasons for it, but can we think about the impact and various other things? So in all seriousness, though, I generally don't get angry or cross, because to be able to deliver this, you need to create for my team internally a huge sense of psychological safety, because people won't see the scale in this. This is the biggest replatforming I've seen in my career, the biggest amount of APIs, the biggest societal change where we're asking people who it is their job to change and customers to change. So it's huge. So I think how you set the conditions, and for me, remaining really balanced and kind and focused on how people are feeling both inside the building and outside of it. It might sound a bit pink and fluffy, but actually that's why I kind of deliver these big programs, and I'm brave enough to take the step forward because it's not always easy. So yeah, hopefully you get the story. But to be honest with you, like my mum and dad just broke me up to be to just to be kind and not to get angry. To be honest.
So great. So the summary of that is I'm the person that makes you most angry. So
Yeah.
I didn't
More
expect you to say
more
that.
than his children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
We've
Must love
wound
me.
each other up on occasions. Maybe
No,
that's a good summary.
it's fine. I think that's only going to make me more popular with our audience. So thank you for that, Craig. Now
Healthy
we
debate.
are really tight on time here, so I need you to do this one in a one sentence answer, please. What criticism of MTD do you think is fair?
That is a good. Well, the first criticism, it's taken so long to get here. That's absolutely fair. We misunderestimated the complexity, and we had pandemics and Brexit and various other things. So I think when people get really, somebody messaged me, and I know have to be really quick and says, "Like, how can I be confident? How can I get? I got behind you the last time and you let us down, right?" And that personally took a toll on me. I think I get that at a human level. Hopefully, in the last 2 years, people have seen we've hit every milestone. We're honest when we get things wrong. We send letters out when we get things wrong. We share all our defects. We try and open a sort of honest thing. I think the other thing which is
Wait, you're not allowed another thing. I'm
uh,
sorry.
it was a good one, so
Because
we'll hold that for
I
later.
would actually quite like to hear the answer to that question from both Sam and Emma as well. What criticism do you think has been fair? You were both nodding when
I,
Craig was saying the length of time
I,
it's taken and the delays, etc.
well, well, Craig stole mine really because I think that is it, isn't it? But what I would say that's gone with those timeline changes is we've often used that to change MTD itself, right? So we've been working in partnership with people to look at our policy, to hear and listen about things that people thought needed to change our design. We've changed things like moving to cumulative, removing EOPS, all of that sort of stuff. Those were the right things to do. We've got a better product because of that. But I think at times that's led people with different versions of MTD in the mind and like some opaqueness have crept in. And I think it would have probably been better, or definitely would have been better, if we could have given a firmer timeline up front with a really firm, good design up front. And I think that goes back to the co-creation point. So being more
Mm,
open earlier about co-creation.
I think you've got this
yeah.
problem now that it's such a long time to bring something in that it not being perfect is
Yeah,
utterly rage-inducing because
yeah.
that's his. Why? Can you have such a long time? And yes, you've made progress and good changes, but I think most people expect it to be at that point that it is perfect and a good design and a co-created design by now, and we haven't got that
And I think the one thing that I'd come in on that, which actually probably feeds into that, Robert, is it's a lack of engagement in the early days. So in the very
Yeah,
first
that's what
start
I
of this
mean.
project,
Yeah.
the engagement wasn't how it is now since Craig's taken over and Sam's
uh,
come on board.
uh,
We
tell
didn't
me.
have that open, that openness at all.
Tell me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I think there's definitely a perception that there is engagement with industry, and what I mean by industry is practice, people in practice, that but that often that engagement is with big firms, and their client base is so very different to people that deal with smaller firms and people that deal with more normal people, if you like. Is that true? Was the early engagement there with bigger firms, or it just wasn't there at all?
I just think it wasn't there, to be honest. It
To
was
the
a little
level it
bit
should be.
presented as a fait accompli, and certain things were baked in that weren't consulted on early on. And then by the time we'd gone so far, it was too late almost to turn the ship around. That has changed, I think, now. I think the level of engagement we have now, it's definitely not just the big firms. Now, the voices are heard all the way through, and I'm always sort of straight to stand up for the smaller firms that make up a large part of the membership as well. I just think it was too little at the start, and maybe things that people don't like now, we could have turned it around at the start, but that
I,
ship sailed.
So
Yeah.
that's the key point, isn't it? It's about the timing and when
Mm,
you engage and how you engage. Like we've tried to
mm.
do as best we can. But the more, like I think our learnings for next things and the next projects, it's all about really early engagement, co-creation to get it right and make
Mm.
people feel
I
part
think
of it
if
at
we'd
the
started
start.
again with
Yeah.
the what we have now, it would have been different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'll just jump in on that because I've been quite vocal in that I think for years I never felt like I was heard by anybody as an accountant in practice. I'd find things out for my professional body, but I didn't really know what my professional body was doing with HMRC to fight for my corner. And that has changed dramatically in the last 12 months. And I really hope that HMRC in particular look at the work that the people on the screen right now are doing and saying, right, there is a lot of positives from the way that Sam, Craig, and Emma and the other professional bodies have been open, particularly on social media and webinars. And when we're looking towards e-invoicing in the future, we have got years now to get ready for that, and people learn from it and go, right, let's learn from all the mistakes of MTD, almost do an inquiry and get it done. What did we need to get right for next time? And I know quite a few people in the chat have said the same thing. It's been good to see so much communication. I really hope we learn from it. Now,
Can I just do one final one-liner, which is, I think all of that's true. One of the people that's been fundamental behind the scenes is a lady in my team called Jen Staves. She's led the co-creation of Point. The volume of co-creation in the last 2.5 years, people would be, it's mind-boggling, the scale, not just with professional bodies, with real accountants, real agents. It was a passion of Jen's to bring real people into the room. All of that happened to make this service much, much better. And actually, I don't think anything in life is fully perfect, but I do think we've got to a much, much better place. And it just so happens that, behind the scenes, Jen's working on e-invoicing as well, Tom. So, that passion for getting not just professional bodies who are key, but real people. And actually, that's why I brought people into the team who actually had the expertise. If I had my time again, I would have done that sooner.
and on that good point, Sam, you're actually an award-winning accountant, which I'm surprised the award isn't behind you on the shelf. You know, I understand why they brought you in because we've spoken before, and one of the things I really appreciate was that you were saying you remind the team in MTD that outside of MTD, we as accountants are dealing with so many other changes that are coming in with ACSP, and I think that's a really good thing that you're doing. But what sort of what we're going to go two parts here: challenges and wins that you think MTD has brought to the industry.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, we've talked about this before. Like me coming in, I do try. I don't always succeed. Um, to be the agent in the room giving the bigger picture. And I think it's easy for all of us to sit in a silo and to think, internally, we're talking about MTD or we're talking about e-invoicing or whatever else it is. But for you guys, and for a long time, even when I was in practice, there's been a lot of compounding change, right? And there's a lot more coming. So at times, I think MTD feels, harder than perhaps it maybe would have done in isolation because there's other things going on and you guys are all really busy and you've all got demanding clients and you're all doing a great job. And we're coming with something else and you've got to get ready for it. And it's not just something else, it's probably the biggest change for 30 years. So it feels huge.
Mm.
Challenges and wins. I mean, we've talked about some of the challenges. I think genuinely the timeline changes and the fact that we've had just a bit of opaqueness creep in because of the changes that we've made. So I still talk to people and they still refer to me and ask me about EOPS and things. And I think, that's because you were listening 2 or 3 years ago and we don't have that now. So we've got to do some re-education. Some of it you've got to sort of unlearn and then learn again. So that makes it a little bit difficult. Wins. I mean, when I was in practice, we were fully digital and we did a digital transformation. So I don't just think there are wins in digital. I genuinely know it and I've felt it. Not all of those are MTD, of course, but MTD brings with them like the benefits of general digital. So moving to the cloud, we had people, we're based in Newcastle, but we had staff all over the country. We had clients all over the country that was enabled by cloud. We grew 30% year on year for a number of years. That was because we could pick up different wins. All of that was digital stuff. On top of that, though, I think MTD brings some things which go further than the standard digital offering. Things like, and I think I talked about this on a webinar, which me and you chatted about afterwards, Tom, HMRC Assist, which is in-year nudges and prompts to help people get things right before it's wrong. I think that's game changing, right? So at the minute, if somebody gets something wrong, you've got to wait until tax returns filed and an inquiry is opened. And by that time, you're 2, 3, 4 years down the line from potentially the original transaction. So being able to give a nudge or a prompt in the year through the software to say something like, hey, you've just went over the VAT threshold, but the client's not registered for VAT, helping people get it right before they get it wrong. I think that's game changing. I think the tax estimate will be really useful for some people, but not everybody, but getting people to be more closely engaged with the tax system and think about their tax bill a little bit more often. I think that's really important. And actually, when we talk about getting things right before we get it wrong, the fact that we can auto-populate a lot more information and we're not asking people to give us things that they've already given us elsewhere, whether it's through PAYE or the benefits system or CIS, etc. I think that's really important as well because we've got it and we should be making it easier at the year end or throughout the year for people to be able to complete their tax affairs and not
What
have to duplicate what they've already done for us. Yeah.
what you're saying makes perfect sense, but there's a lot of nerves out there that isn't a system that works at the moment. So
Hmm.
we pull through on Income Viewer, and state pension, for example, is not very accurate.
Hmm.
So how can we have assurance that MTD is going to solve that? Is MTD going to solve that issue, that the information that we already pulled from HMRC is not great?
Well, I mean, for me, anything that we've got, we should be showing you and giving you access to. But ultimately, everything should still be checked, and we should allow people to overwrite it if they don't think that that's wrong. So if they think we've gotten something wrong and they want to give us extra information, they should be able to do that, and they can. Yeah. So everything that we pre-populate or auto-populate, as we're calling it now, they should be able to look at, check, cross-verify. But if they don't think it's right, they should be able to overwrite it. And that's a key principle, Robin. We're allowing people to change that. So I get that. You know, we can only give them as good as we've got. We want to present it to them. We want to help people. If it's not quite right though, and they think they've got a bit of information that we don't have, they can go in there and they can make that change.
The new system as well is more effective. There is things we just simply can't do at the moment because we're working with a 1990s system. You know, it was built pre-internet. So can you imagine working on that basis that has to be cyber secure? You know, so fundamentally, I don't think it's the silver bullet that resolves the point you make. I think Sam's it is about work being really open, being transparent, showing data, allowing the ability to correct it. But you know, we can only now make these future steps to put more data in and get better at it by having modern systems. We just couldn't do it in old systems.
So do you think when we come to do our first quarter updates that things like CIS, employment, those APIs will be working 100%?
Yeah, they're working. They're working now. I think you were saying one of the biggest trends in testing is that view and also the estimator does make a difference. And Sam and I are really clear that it's not for everyone. So that's why that caveat has to be really bold and clear. If you're a seasonal worker, for example, or you know, there is examples. And I think accuracy builds over the year. So what I don't want my team or anybody else to do is say things like, you know, the estimator's infallible, it's fantastic, or MTD's a click of a button. I know that, you know, let's be honest about it. Actually, if done well, it flows nicely. It can be relatively easy to use, but it's not. It's never truly just a click of a button. That would be wrong, and it's never, as I say, nothing in life is fully accurate. So I think we should be bold and honest about it, but have a discussion about the bits that you know are imperfect. So yes is the short answer, Tom. It's working just now, and we'll continue to make it even better.
Good. And Emma, moving on to the professional bodies, if there's agents out there that are still struggling and they obviously can't have Sam, Craig on tap and HMRC team on tap, how should they be working with professional bodies like yourself?
So we've got lots of resources available on ATT website, absolutely all free to anybody. You don't have to be one of our members. So my first thing would be do have a little dig around in there, see what we've got. I think the other thing I would say is if you're starting to encounter problems, so what we can't do as professional bodies, unfortunately, is help each individual person get across the line. But if you're starting to see things coming up that you think are systematic of wider issues, or you think something's going a bit wrong, do come to us, give us that feedback. We can take it to talk to people like Sam and Craig and the rest of the team. What we really need members to be are sort of our eyes and ears on the ground. You know, we're not doing this in person anymore, most of us. So actually, if you're coming across things that don't make sense, you've got questions, send them in to us, because that's the only way we can make sure that we're properly representing you and that we're supporting you as well.
How often do you work with HMRC on MTD? You know, I know you've had problems with
some of these guys are
comms
probably sick of the sight of me.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Emma's part of my team as much as anybody else, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally, I don't think a week goes by when I'm not talking to Sam or, you know, having some kind of email correspondence as well. One of my team was on secondment to HMRC actually before Christmas for a few months. She was fresh out of practice, so she got to take in her experience there. So we do work. I think, to be honest, MTD is the best engagement we've got and we've had from my perspective in a professional body.
Can I jump in just super quick? So one thing I think's, like, having done this for 20 years, the world has changed because we are so much more interconnected. So I get to hear about things that aren't perfect, either from Emma or from Robin or Tom or from one of the brilliant people that I've got so many genuinely cracking relationships on LinkedIn where people keep in touch. And it's not like what has also changed is this bit's maybe quite not right. Let's throw the book at HMRC and say it's all bad. There's this really quite good behaviour of, we think there's an issue there. Can you look at it? either there is or there isn't. We fix it, or we tell the factual position. And I'd really encourage us to have that, because most of the time it's misunderstanding and actually things are absolutely fine. But in the past, in the old days, you had to wait weeks to be able to get that customer feedback. Obviously, we've got analytics in our system that are state of the art, but there's sometimes nothing better than just hearing from Joe Blogs from Surrey that there's this thing. And and I've had lots of examples from accountants from LinkedIn or from this therapy group to say, is that right, Craig? And we've been able to jump on it straight away. So I think that's really, really cool as well.
Wonderful.
Should we do a little demo of the ASA?
Yeah, Sam,
because
this is your time to shine.
Nothing like putting me on the spot, Robin. We thought it would be useful. I've got 10 minutes, but we're running or 12 minutes it was.
If
But
if you can do it in 5, go on.
go if I can do it in 5.
Click of a
I've
button.
got a lot of slides. I'll try and do it in 5. Listen, we we test things and we build things and we iterate things and we change things. That's part of testing, right? So we've done some slight changes to things in the ASA client copy across journey that we thought would be just really useful to highlight, and a quick run through of what sign up looks like for anybody who hasn't actually started signing up yet. So I will be as fast as I can. I'm sure Robin will be chipping away at my heels in the background saying be faster, but here we go. I'm going to do 2 quick demos. The reason I'm picking these are the 2 key MTD actions that you'll do on our digital service as an agent wanting to get ready. So the first is copying across your existing SA client authorizations from your old account into your new ASA, if you haven't already done that. And then the second one after you've done that is signing up for MTD. So let's look at the first one first. So moving into that new portal. Just rewind a second so everyone's on the same page. So you've got 2 agent accounts with HMRC, or you can have 2. You've got the old one where you've got your current existing self-assessment authorizations, and you've got the new one, which is the agent services account. And remember, that's the same one that you use for MTD for VAT, or just VAT as it is now. You don't need a new one. You keep that same one. You can't have 2. It's still that same single ASA. So we use that new one, but the existing authorizations are in the old one. So what we're going to do about that, and this is a key action, but remember, we've made this as easy as possible. So we do a one-time copy across or an add from the old portal to the new portal. That will link together the 2 accounts. It doesn't remove anything from the old account. It simply lets the new account see what's in the old account. And once it can see it, then those authorizations are visible and you can use the ASA to actually sign up. If anyone's got more than one old account, so you might have multiple, make sure that you link them all so that all of the existing self-assessment authorizations are visible. Let me just quickly, I'm not going to go through this, I'll share the slides after, but our old journey used to look like this, and it was confusing people because we talked about government gateway IDs, and now we've changed a bit and we're now talking about agent code. So the agent code is the self-assessment code which shows in the old legacy portal, and we're explaining to people how you add those across one by one. So really quickly, if you want to do this, if you haven't already done it, you log into your agent services account. So make sure you've got an agent services account. There's a nice big get ready for MTD for income tax banner at the top in blue there, and it says add existing self-assessment authorizations to this account. You click on there. It will tell you if you've already linked. So here we're saying we've already linked one agent code A34567. And it says if you want to add another one, click the button and you can add another one. It will ask you what agent code you're going to add. So make sure you've already gotten that from your old portal before you go ahead and do that. And then you use your government gateway ID for the old portal to log in, click and continue, sign in with your government gateway address, and then you will have added however many clients are on that old portal to the new portal. But remember, like I said, you're not removing anything. And here you'll get confirmation that now 2 agent codes have been added, and all of the clients which are on both of those codes are now linked. Do this now. If you haven't already done it, this is a key part of readiness. Make sure that the agent services account can see your client authorizations, yeah? There's no harm in doing it now. You can't do any damage, but you can just set yourself up for success. So make sure you do that as quick as possible. Second action is sign up. So once you've done that first action, and once the agent services account knows all about those existing authorizations, you can start signing people up. So sign up, you use your agent services credentials. It takes about 4 minutes on average. There's 2 places from which you can start the sign up journey, but they both put you into the same sign up journey. And then once you signed up, you use your agent services account to manage those client details. So there's two places that this can start. Like I said, one is from within the ASA itself. The other's a gov.uk page. On the agent services account, this is where you will go. So there's a section called Making Tax Digital, and there's a sign up your clients bit. You can click there. You're already logged into your agent services account. It will start the sign up flow. Alternatively, you can go to gov.uk. Top tip, if you're doing it from here, make sure that you're on the agent page to sign up your client and not sign up yourself as an individual. You can hit the green button and you can start going through that from there. Doesn't matter where you start, they'll both put you into the agent, the MTD sign up service journey, and it looks like this. So for each client you go through, it will ask you first, which client are you signing up? So first name, last name, national insurance number. It's the identifier we use is the NINO in MTD, and date of birth. You get to check your answers, make sure that you've entered everything correctly, and then it will tell you at that point whether or not you can proceed in the sign-up journey and sign them up. This was much more important, this page, during testing when we had more restrictions. Now, virtually everybody can sign up, so you can move past this once you've put the information in. It will remind you that obviously, probably more important again, if you're an individual, that you have to have MTD compatible software and links off to the software page. You can see you've either got it or, no, I understand, but I'll get it later. You check which year you want to sign up. So it's either the current year, so you could do this now and you could still come into testing, or you can do it from next year for mandation and set yourself up ready to go. It reminds people about penalties. So when you're doing the sign up, you're also opting into the new fairer penalty regime. So it reminds people what that is. It does note the relaxation for 26-27. And then it brings you to the main taxpayer overview page. This is really important. It comes back to this multiple times. So this is where you'll enter any details of any sole trades, multiple sole trades potentially, and any property businesses that they've got. So 4 different actions here. We're just going to add a sole trade business and a property business. So on this one, in the demo that we've got, we will add a sole trade. It says incomplete, so we'll finish that off. We're adding the trading name. This is really important. I wanted to make this point. So when people are signing up in the trading name, make sure that you put something which is relevant. This will be what is displayed in the software and on the HMRC side when it's showing you what the obligations are. So we've had some people going there and saying the name is own name. Don't do that, because what will display is the text string own name. So make sure it's something which is really relevant and identifiable for the future. You can add the start date. We only need that if it's within the last 2 years. That's for the current year -2 check, so that we know the status of that MTD obligation. So you can add that in. Here we're adding the details for the plumbing business, ABC Traders. Check what you've done, and it'll take you then back to the overview page, and here we'll add some property income. This one, quick, it started more than 2 years ago, so we don't need the details. Click confirm and continue. And then at the end, that's everything that this client overview page has and what this client has. You can click save and continue, and then you get a final check your answers. This is the final bit that you want to check. So you've said you have got software, you've selected the tax year, it tells you which sole trader businesses you've listed and their names and the property income. And at that point, you click continue and they're signed up. That's the sign up journey done. You also get the option to print or save this page. It tells you about the deadlines and reminders for making Tax Digital's quarterly updates. And you get the option to go and sign up another client if you want to. And that's it. So once you've done that, you've done your 2 key journeys. And remember, you then go back into your agent services account. If you want to manage the client, go to the MTD section, you click on manage self-assessment details for clients that are already signed up. You enter their UTR this time, and it will take you through to the client overview page. And that's the view and change service. And I think we've been asked this question, but you can see at the top there, above Dex Evans income tax, it says you are signed in as main agent. So in this example, it tells you that they're the main agent who signed in. If it was a supporting agent, it would say you were signed up as supporting agent. And just a plug, we've got a new agent toolkit. We worked on that with Emma's Secondi, who we talked about previously. It's really useful. At the end of this session, I would encourage people to go and look at the agent toolkit. That's me, Robin.
Well done, Sam. Good timing. We have one question in terms of bringing your authorities over from the OSA to the ASA. How come we can do this for MTD, but we can't do this for something like Income Viewer? Is there a good technical reason behind that. Why, if we're already authorized by a client, we still have to go through processes. And can I just check as well that when we do that port over, if we then add extra clients on the OSA, you then have to do a digital handshake with new clients on the ASA. Is that right? Have I lost you?
You did a bit towards the end. So I actually, it's a good question about the income record viewer. So income record viewer is, client by client, digital handshake by digital handshake.
I think the question there
I'm
is
not actually sure. I'm not,
why?
I genuinely don't know. So, Emma was going to come in. Maybe Emma knows better than me
I
on
don't
that
know.
one.
I wonder if it sits on it's the platform it sits on.
Yeah,
I think it's
potentially.
to do
I,
with
I
that.
mean, I can go
Yeah.
and ask that question. I've genuinely never been asked it before, Robin. In regards to getting client authorities and how they link together, there is a link. So what you and I say link in our guidance, we say copy or add. But copy or add, I think, makes people think that you're lifting and shifting one time in there. It's like a one time done and then it's the link's broken. Think of the two accounts as being linked together, but it is a one-way link the way I think about it. So once they're linked together, if you do a traditional 64-8 and you add somebody to your old account,
Mhm.
after the link's done, it will automatically still be linked and show up in your agent services account. So it's in two places. One action gets it in two places. It doesn't work the other way around. So you could add somebody direct to the agent services account by doing a digital handshake. If you do that, they're only in their ASA. They're not showing in the old one. So I actually think probably for most people, it's more beneficial to do a 64-8 and then it's on both. Yeah.
So essentially, our process will work better if we carry on as we have been previously and getting
Link
the
them
agent
together.
author we
Yeah.
link, but then the agent authorities
I think
still go
I
through
think
the OSA.
I think that's more helpful right now. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you very much. I think we have some questions for Emma now. If somebody's feeling completely overwhelmed with the thought of doing this, particularly the sign up for their clients, because okay, 4 minutes, but if you've got that to do on bulk, that's quite a lot. Um, what advice would you give to firms, or what advice are you giving to people?
Oh, it's really tricky, isn't it? I would look at I think when it comes to sign up, I think the thing is have a plan and try and just phase it out. My recommendation would be if it's looking like it's going to be a big job, don't leave it all to do in like 2 days. Maybe phase it a little bit, try and do a few a week, get it in where you can. It's tricky when it comes to the resource and it can be intimidating. I would encourage people to go and have a bit of a look. I know people are sort of a little bit skeptical that it's a big job, but the people who I know who have done sign up actually have said it's not that big a job and maybe it was something that seemed like a bigger job before they did a couple. Bear in mind, you can sign anybody up now ahead of 26, 27. You don't need to wait till April. In fact, don't wait till April, get it done. And just look to your, and when it comes to sort of, I'd look to your peers for a bit of support as well. So groups like Accountants Therapy, MTD Therapy, we do our little Zoom monthly sessions as well. See what they're doing and see if they've got any good tips as well and just really like lean on that peer network.
Yeah, thank
Can
you,
I,
Ed. I think that's go on, Sam.
just on the sign up, can I just say I think two things are really important. One is it's the battle of the well prepared. So if you're going to come, I've
Mm.
just shown you what you're going to need, all of the information that you're going to need. So make sure you've got that ready so that you're not hitting a point in the journey and thinking, oh, actually, I don't know the national insurance number. I need to check the trade start
Yeah.
date. Like come prepared for that. But also, just as I highlighted there, what people need to understand is when they're doing sign up and the information they add in there, they're actually establishing their MTD obligations. So like when I said don't write own name, because what will happen is it'll show us own name in the MTD system, yeah? So come with the information you need, but also be just that do that diligence to make sure you're doing something which is going to be relevant for you and the right obligation set up for your client in the future, so that when they log back in, it's all right. You've got the right MTD applications from day one. You don't want to have to go back and unpick something. We have seen people doing multiple sign-ups, and I think because it's easier for them just going own name, own name, own name, that's going to cause more difficulty for them in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Don't
Sam.
and don't fear, Robin. The agency. I think there's some chat about 4 minutes as these HMRC 4 minutes. Sam's shown two different things. The agent service account is a no regret activity. It doesn't change anything else. It won't break things. It won't bring people in you don't want. The 4 minutes is the timed what it takes on average, and it's probably just north of 4 and a bit minutes. But it'll be different for each an individual. So just get started with it. Is the best advice accountants have been finding when they've actually been running with the system.
So I want to go back to something that Emma said just a minute ago, which you'll understand why I want to go back to it. But she said that getting into a community of people and learning from peers is something that you've seen is a useful thing. Craig, what value have you seen from agents being involved in communities like accountants therapy or going to trade events? I don't mean you to comment just on accountants therapy. You can if you want, but do you see that when you are speaking to agents that the best way they can learn is from peers?
So I think that's definitely true, right? The challenge is when I've said that before, it makes it feel like I'm expecting accountants to train other accountants. I'm absolutely not in any way, right? But you respect and get the access and information from seeing and doing, and it is so much more kind of organic and understandable from experts, and that's why Sam's got a greater degree of credibility than I do in this, or the people that even build the service. So I think two things. One, it's a good thing, but the other thing is we're still improving the service, and we need to continue to do that. So if you've got ideas, there's bits you don't like, you've got already, Robin and team have got a clear way into to me and the team to tell us what they like and they don't like.
You know
So I
that
think,
I'm now going to have 300 messages in the next 10 minutes. So thanks
and
for that, Greg.
apologies for that, but it's like it's just it's the opportunity of working in the open and doing this in a different way to how government organisations maybe did in the past, and hopefully that breeds more confidence and trust. And then when we don't do things, we can say why we can try and say why we don't do it. So I think it's a huge it's a huge thumbs up, both from this group, but also like I've seen accountants running unrepresented sessions helping people, and they've got accountants that don't want to take on more business. They're not doing it because they want to build their portfolio. They're doing it because there is a sort of common good thing. So each to their own on it. But the reason I'm on this meeting today is I've seen the fundamental difference this group has made, and that's I wouldn't be on if I didn't
Can,
see it.
can I just really quickly plug as well and add, because I don't, there's some people in the chat who I know have come to our service, but not everyone will know about it. But I run a service in my team where we bring together people on a peer-to-peer basis. So we run them, I think, between 4 and 6 times a week. It's usually about 10 accountants on the call, and we have 90 minutes, and we talk much slower through a lot of the slides that I've shown, but a lot more. And we encourage a discussion and a debate because people learning and sharing with each other is really, really important. And they can tell each other things that I can't tell them because they're going through things which are actually real. Emma does something similar with ATT, like signing up to one of our HMRC-led peer group things. Uh, I don't think anywhere else in the department offers anything like that. We're genuinely trying to lean into the modern way of people helping each other and working together. So come along, have the discussion. I know Bobby's been, I think a few others I can see in the chat, they've been to the sessions. They're really valuable. And particularly people from your community who know a lot and are a little bit further ahead, they're helping other people really well as well.
It's something that makes me very proud of our community when we go to other webinars and we can see in the chat people that we know are going, hang on, what they've said isn't right, or hang on, they could explain that a bit better, and standing up for useful information. Maybe that's something I wanted to just make the point of when we talk about learning from our peers. There is also that exposure of social media where you see a lot of inaccurate information from our peers. How does HMRC feel about that? Are there any safeguards? Is there anything that you guys can do? Is there anything you think agents should be doing? Maybe that's a good question for Emma as well. When we see inaccurate information out there, what's the best thing to do?
So I think it's two things. One, I think there is a strong self-policing thing I'm seeing happening, and I think in some ways it's more impactful than HMRC or another organisation try to deal with it. So I think it's such a broad question, and we're dealing with such a big thing that I see things that are inaccurate, and if ever I see it, I'll address it. If it's part of the system, there's controls I can have at my fingertips that allows the interaction with the organisation, whether it's through software or otherwise. So there is functional standards that are built in. But if I'm being really honest, I think that self-policing thing is more powerful from a group of industry experts than from the director from HMRC, being displeased about something. So I think I would encourage you to continue doing that, but just continue to ask questions. Final thing I'd say, and it just reflected on it, one of the things that's been most helpful for me is when I come into MTD, I had you develop what you believe is your pitch, your brand, your narrative, and all these things. And And one of the things that I did and I'd recommend to my colleagues is actually show it to externals and let them have a view. And basically, some really credible people for the industry in my first few weeks of joining ripped up what I thought things were. And you need to be brave enough to listen and admit that you get things wrong, but be bold enough to stand your position where you think that it's either a grey issue or you've got a view. The industry's also helped me try to pitch Making Tax Digital in a more recognizable way. So moving away from things like click of a button, etc. And I know there's things that will wind people up out there. I do, but just take assurance that from groups like this and from professional bodies, we do listen, and I try and change how we discuss things, how we bring people in as a result of the feedback.
And Robin, one of the coolest things I've seen in the last year, there was a video, wasn't there? I can't remember if it was TikTok or
Yeah.
Instagram, and it sort of had a lot of inaccuracies and myths in there. And to see your community, I know it was you in particular, go and have a conversation with that lady and do an updated video, I thought that was fantastic. And it was like great. Like that's not something we can ask people to do, and we never would. But like seeing people do that themselves and get that relevant information out there, I thought that was great.
It's a
Thank you.
cracker.
Thank you very much. Now, again, I'm conscious of time, and we have lots of questions. I'd like to move into some of the pre-submitted questions now, and we'll try to get onto we've got 8 or so open in the Q&As at the moment. So I'm going to read some of these straight out, if that's okay. We've got some from Karen. What is the exact sign-up process for multi-agents? The tax return submitter is going to be the main agent. Is that correct?
Yeah, only the
Yeah.
main agent can submit the tax return. When you
And
copy on that copy across journey I showed, anybody who's a current agent will come across and be automatically the main agent. So they'll be designated. If you then want to become a supporting secondary agent, you do a digital handshake and make sure you select, I want to be supporting agent.
does it matter who does that first? Is it
No,
as
they can
long
do
as
it in
you're
any
doing it
order. Yeah.
correct,
Yeah, you can have a
not
main
you're
agent without a
supporting?
supporting agent. You can have a supporting agent without a main agent.
And the supporting agent can sign up clients for MTD without pushing out the main agent. That's
Yeah,
all
so
Yeah.
they
possible.
can both of them can sign up to MTD.
That
Okay.
point Sam said there about the main agent doesn't have to be in place. I did an Accountex thing, and I don't think I was as
Good.
clear as I could have been on that. So you can be a supporting agent without the main agent and do the sign up, and I think that's a really good part of the design.
And it is only the main agent or the taxpayer themselves that can make a submission of the final tax return
Yeah.
within MTD. And how will agents know which clients they're signed up with as a primary and a supporting agent if we haven't got any list in the ASA?
So we don't have a list, so you can't look in one place and scan down. We know that's a pain point. But when I showed the screen before, what I showed you the module you get when you log into an individual client, and when you log in at the top, it will either say main, you are logged in as a main agent, or it will say you are logged in as a supporting agent.
Okay. And we have had more than one question about can we now have the list on the ASA? What are the plans? Is it
Do
really a
you
plan? Are we
want
actually ever
me
going
to
to
pick
get a
that?
list?
You want me to pick that one up, Sam? So not just Sam beating the drum on this, but it's not every accountant, but over the last 2 years, it's probably been the most asked question. Um, so it's I don't have a date for it, but there are teams that are looking at how it's achievable against security considerations, against good customer service, sorry, good customer journey. So there is a very strong, clear wish that the industry thinks this is a very good thing to have. But I'll be frank, I don't have a date on it at the moment. There has not been one agent that said to me that it would be a bad idea, and we do have people looking at it behind the scenes. I just don't have a date, I'm afraid.
We'll have a party when that happens, I think.
Just to expand slightly on that, like the wider department are looking to do something good and strategic, and to do that based on the learnings we've talked earlier on, is they want to co-create that. So they're already having discussion. We're already having discussions with people like the ATT and Emma. I'm sure Emma will agree with this, but if you've got something you would like to see in that list, how that might work for you better, speak to your professional bodies
Yeah.
that represent you in those discussions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good advice. Okay, so we're seeing lots of software providers saying that they have full functionality for the 25, 26 returns and onwards. are they in a position to be able to be saying that? Do we need to be cautious when we're seeing advertising that that functionality is there? From an HMRC point of view, how do you feel about seeing um, software providers advertising that? All
Mm.
fine.
So I think we've developed a software choices tool so that we can be really clear what's available now versus what's going to be available. So I don't think it's as binary as I can say trust every single thing that you read, right? What I would say is go to the source of the software finder tool. There is one primary outstanding API that's been put into Sandbox that, you know, so the confidence at my end is very, very, very high. But I would just encourage people to just do their own due diligence, take a look at the software choices tool. And I would just say that we've managed to have 12 end of year tax returns through MTD from about 5 developers from 24, 25. The a critical part of this program, and I've always been honest about it, is that the public beta, those 4,000 regular quarterly updates we've seen each quarter, we need to materialize as many of those into tax return for the end of the year so we can continue to do the customer testing. Of course, behind the scenes, I invest huge amounts of time testing almost every part of this system within an inch of its life. But having real customers go through the service gives us even more confidence that when we bring on 800,000, we're in an even better position. So if you're in testing, which lots of people now are, it's really important that you finalise through MTD compatible software for the 25-26 year. That will give us lots of insight to make sure for the mass population we're in a really good place.
Okay, thank you. And another question, that question was from Mark. There's another one from Mark. Is there any clarity on SA 302 for mortgage purposes, particularly for those in testing? Does anyone here know anything about what mortgage providers will be expecting from those in testing and beyond?
So I mean, Craig might come in as well. Tax year overview pages, they're already live. Full SA 302 digital service expecting to launch in September. That's on our roadmap. Until then, if people need something, our dedicated customer support team, which is a ring-fenced group of experts, you get that number when you join. When you join the testing, you can call them, and they've got a process to do it, and they'll do it manually for you until the digital service launches in September.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Thank you. A really good question sent in by Christopher here regarding people dealt with under public department number 1. Has anyone ever considered that an exemption might be necessary for those people, seeing that digital security for those under public department number 1 is of a high concern? Has there been discussions around that? Is that something that's been missed? I doubt it's
No,
been missed.
definitely not been
Yes.
missed.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely not been
definitely
missed.
not.
When you deliver, so the team and I have got years of experience working with that type of customer, so it's absolutely clear in our plans and making sure that we provide a really good service there. So just it's one of those ones, probably best not to get into too much detail, but yeah, we're all over that consideration and we'll be.
So is there any practical advice if we've got clients registered under public department 1 that we don't have access to on the O service, so we can't pull them through? Is there practical
There
advice there?
I think the practical advice, Robin, is there are people in self-assessment now who can't act digitally, and there will be in MTD as well. But we tell those people what to do and we communicate with them direct, and in MTD we'll do the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
And another one from Christopher. And I told people that I would ask these questions, so you may not enjoy this one. When there is a public inquiry about the lessons we should have learned on MTD, how do we get a seat on it?
it's a good question. So I think it's a good question. No, so obviously people will know I was. This isn't my first rodeo. I was the director of the furlough scheme. We've just went through the sort of look back in the pandemic amongst things. So natural processes will follow. The one thing we do behind the scenes and something I'm really passionate about is, when you deliver major programs, you have to be able to keep really, really clear records. So my team are among some of the most highly qualified in government, not just delivering the technology, but actually building in the high level professional governance. We document everything we do. We document every level of risk. Sometimes you have to make choices, and we've got a governance board that's a program board that's got executive oversight. And last week I was at HMRC board. So everything I manage in MTD is unbelievably transparent and documented. And over the fullness of time, I can see why I'm confident we'll deliver a robust system. If there ever was the inquiry, then the documentation is really, really robust. It's part of the job that I have to ensure and oversee.
Okay, thank you for actually entertaining and answering that question. I wasn't sure you would. Okay, so a question from Claire. Do do you understand that having clients split between the OSA and the ASA is really tricky? I'm assuming that that's the case because there's no other way for HMRC to build this because you need a partial pull through because you can't do everybody all at once. Will everybody eventually go on to the ASA? Um, and how
Yeah.
does it work then if everybody is going to go over to the ASA? How does it work if people are coming in and out of MTD after a 3-year period, for example? Because we understand that you can come out of MTD and that you would go back to the OSA.
So I think what the group might find interesting to understand is, so you know about our data transformation on the back end, and we've got an old legacy system and we're building MTD on a new one. That's why we've got 2 portals as well. So the agent services account is built over the top of the new data infrastructure. So the simple answer, and Craig will probably give you a bit better on the longer term, but eventually everyone will migrate onto the new system. That means everybody will be in the ASA. It does not mean everybody will be in MTD. It means that people will do their tax return on the new system annually, and there'll be just, the same processes we have in standard self-assessment of being able to go into the portal and do an annual tax return. That will be part of what is eventually built into the agent services account, but that will not be for MTD people, of course. It'll be for those people who aren't in MTD but have moved onto the new system. Yeah, but it's part of the answer is, yeah, it's a split system at the minute because we're part of a improvement infrastructure data migration project. So it's a timing thing, and eventually everybody will be in the new one.
Thank you. The last pre-submitted question here is from Hannah. Please, can we have a big red flag or a note on the online services account when someone is registered for MTD? Is that something that is possible? Is that something that might happen? Is that a new thought? Something that when we log in or when the client or we log into the government gateway, if it has a nice big red, we like red, note saying
On the
you're
old
in
one or on the new one?
on the old one.
I've never been asked that before, but that's a good point. So we'll think about that. So I guess when somebody's logging into their old account, they want to know that this person is actually already signed up for MTD, and seeing something like that.
A good example for that
Yeah.
is the thought that if you go into somebody in testing at the moment that has payments on account,
Yes.
the only way to know that you need to check another account is if you're going to go into the tax year overview and click
Yeah.
through and see that it says transfer to digital. So something
Yeah.
immediate would be really helpful there. So I'm sure I've asked for that before. But
Maybe.
there we go. Okay, so maybe something practical to come out of this. Shall we try to tackle some of the questions in Q&A? We'll try and do this in the next sort of five minutes or so. Some of them are quite hard hitting, but we're going to put them to you anyway. Trevor says he's concerned about the number of banks that are promoting apps that suggest it's really simple to comply with MTD, and as a result, thousands of sole traders, landlords claiming anything that goes through the bank account as an expense. He's put, please comment. I think I'll expand on that and say, do you think that's a risk?
Do you want me to pick that one up, Samuel? You'll have some views
Yeah.
on it. I think I've had this sort of interesting view of seeing customers operate within these systems. So I think in MTD, you've got bridging software, you've got full accounting software, you've got the sort of examples that you describe. I think sometimes in life there's marketing, isn't there? But actually, when you try the product and you work through it, it's a slightly different experience. So I think it's one that we should keep an eye on, but because I've seen the service actually being used by real customers, I've equally seen it, work really well. I think particularly for unrepresented customers, these unrepresented customers are filing their tax return at the moment. The ambition and aim is that better records will get them into a better place, and there'll be sort of peaks and troughs in that to get it. So it's not one we're not we're not considering, etc. But it's not top of the risk register if I'm being completely honest.
I think it's a risk. I'm going to come out and say it. I think that most people in therapy would say that being people that are in front of people using softwares like this, that the bank ones particularly make it sound like it is extremely easy, and that will be an exposure there. But I suppose time will tell. We have somebody just flagging that they're having some issues with the helpline, the MTD helpline. They have a few digital handshakes agreed, but nobody can help. It sounds like they've already spoken directly to you, Craig. What's the next step if somebody's having problems with signing people up for making tax digital, if they've already gone down the route of the helpline and with yourself? Is it just to come back to you again?
So there's two things, right? If people are trying to sign up to testing, there is still some exclusions in there, and I think that's what tends to be the issue. They're wanting to get in early, and they're part of the previous exclusions. If you're signing up for April 26 and you're right to be signing up, that should be an easy run in. So I'll cover two things. One, maybe cover a bit about the customer support we're going to give, and that might stimulate some thought. So first thing to do, if you're an agent, give the agent dedicated line a call. If you're a individual customer, give the SA line a call. There's this debate about, you've had this really strong supportive MTD team with wait times of less than a minute. Your MTD calls will go to MTD trained people. So while you have to filter via our departmental number, you are going to be going to people that know what they're talking about. So it is a team just filtered through that one. So I guess that's the first thing to say. What I've found in 99% of cases is it's exclusions in relation to testing, not April 26. So if anybody's still having issues with April 26 and they're not getting through it, absolutely drop me a line on LinkedIn and I'll personally see what I can do to help. That tends to be what the issue is. Lots of people think because you're saying everybody can now sign up, they then go into testing, and that's the primary issue. And on customer support, getting the customer support right is really, really important. And we're making sure that not only do we have the sort of trained people, we also have the current MTD team. They will be always there to deal with exemptions or deal with harder issues. So if people feel that they're not getting the answer they need, then it can escalate through to that absolute expert team as well. So we'll keep a really close eye on this. I've got lots of metrics to understand that we're given the support that we need to as we get into this period.
Thank you. Good. So one from Andrew, maybe the most difficult one to answer here. What is the long-term plan with MTD? Is it everybody?
I think Andrew's question is a really good one, and he pinged me on LinkedIn about this one. So the question is, you're dealing with 3 million people over a couple of years. What about the rest of it? So we will migrate those other self-assessment customers to the enterprise tax management platform so that they also move into the new penalty process. What Andrew quite rightly is asking is, can you set out the timescale and plan for that? And we will in due course. I think it's a very reasonable ask. We're on it, and we're working very closely with the team that's making that work. But right now, the priority is making tax digital. While we look at that wider system, we need to get MTD right. But just to give Andrew assurance, we are on it. I'm just sorry I can't give a specific date, but watch this space. We'll communicate in due course.
Thank you. I think maybe this one is partly for Emma and then partly for you both. Obviously, MTD brings quite a lot of workflow issues. It's probably the bit that's panicking people the most, particularly with the 7th of February deadline, and our first deadline being in the school holidays is not ideal. What happens if it becomes obvious that 1 month and 7 days is just not enough time for people? Is that something that we should be going to our professional bodies and saying now or later? Is that something that has potential to be revisited?
So from my perspective, I think the first thing I'd note is that remember there's no penalty points for quarterly updates in the first year. So take that first year as an opportunity to get the processes as smoothly as running as you can. Actually, if you're struggling, try it a little bit different the next quarter, see what you can do. So sort of use that time to try and get things a little bit ironed out. what would I think be helpful from us is we have, and I'm sure Sam and Craig will say, we've pushed back on the deadline in the past. You know, if actually it comes to it and it is turning out to be difficult and the statistics and, the evidence is showing that, I'm not putting words in their mouth, we would be pushing that again if it was, we had that. But as with everything, I think from members, if we have actual sort of real life granular examples of how this isn't working, that helps us put our case across. So the more detail you can give us rather than it being a theoretical issue, it really does help us.
So in a way, the soft landing can be of help here to let us test whether it's too stressful, whether we can go to our professional body and give an example.
I'd have a go at sort of refining things in your own processes and trying different things, with that comfort that if you do trip over the deadline a little bit, you're not going to get penalised.
Okay, and a sign up question here. Can you sign up if you haven't done your 24-25 tax return yet? Or do you have to do 24-25 before you can sign up?
Yeah.
You've got to do that.
Yeah, you have to have that in place, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm conscious we've got 4 more questions there, but I'm also conscious that you guys have got to go very, very shortly. So can I just leave on 2 questions really, or I've got 3. I'm going to ask this, but again, can we just have one sentence from everybody on here? What do you think accountants will look back and say we've got wrong about MTD? And what do you think that we'll be proud that we said this bit we don't think will work? What do you think will be the 10-year view on it? Who wants to go first on that one? That's a tricky question, eh?
Is the question, what do we think accountants will feel? Or
Yeah.
is the question, what do we think will feel?
No, I think what do you think accountants will feel? Do you think we'll 10 years later go, do you know what, we were scared of nothing? Or do you think 10 years later we'll go, we're really glad that we got together and we said what we thought about it, or something
I,
else?
I think I'm nervous about putting words in anybody's mouth, but what I would say is I think some of the concerns and the fears that people have, I understand, but I think we also saw a lot of that before VAT. And I've been through a lot of digital transformations with clients in the past, and we did 500 in 6 months when we put people onto the cloud. And my own personal experience of those 500, there was only one which ever said, I wish I could go back. And that was more me managing the change badly than the actual change itself. So, like, I learned from that. What I think is that most people will find once they're in the groove that this is a good change. But I would also caution that with any change, it does take a while to get into the groove. So the first few might feel more difficult than what it will feel like after a year or after 18 months when people have built habits and processes and behaviors around that.
So I think it's a great question. I think for me, the current system is out of date, and it may feel like it works, but in a few years' time, we will be sitting in a secure infrastructure that brings the self-assessment income tax closer to the point of when it's needed, and most importantly, beyond all else, I absolutely passionate that records will be better. There is an issue, not with everybody in this call, not people will have some brilliant records. In this macro population, there is a record keeping issue. And I've not met one accountant within any of my 2 and a bit years, and I've spoke to many on bookkeeper, that doesn't think improved records isn't a good thing. So I think the legacy here will be 2. There will be an improvement in records. I'm confident of that, and different people have different experiences of that across the population. I think that there will be better records, and I think the other thing is there'll be a much better interconnectivity in the systems we use, because quite frankly, the current system is just too old, and we can't run a modern tax authority in a system that was developed in the 1990s. It becomes too difficult, and it's just not responsive enough. So I think from a departmental position, that will give us the flexibility and scalability to be able to be a better tax authority in general terms. But yeah, that's it for me. There will be better records at the end of this across the whole population, not in every individual scenario, of course.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective as slightly more sort of fluffy, feel good type thing, I think what we'll take away from this is actually how we've all engaged slightly differently throughout the rollout of MTD. And I really do think that the way the community has interacted with each other, how the professional bodies have. I know we're going to take lessons away for what's gone well with working with our members, what we could have done a little bit better to other things, and I'm sure we'll take that into engagement with HMRC. So I do see this as we've done things a bit different this time round, and let's take the good bits from that.
Nice answer, Emma. Tom, you've got your hand up. You don't need to put your hand up. You can speak.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt
Very
anyone.
polite.
I've got a habit of that. It might not be, you might not be able to answer this, but we spoke probably 6 months ago about multi-factor authentication with agent logins and portals. Is there any conversations behind closed doors at HMRC that anything is moving on this? Because I still find it incredible in 2026, HMRC is the only organisation that doesn't have it mandatory.
Yes, there is. And
well, your reaction, Sam, answers that for me.
There's lots of conversations going on.
That conversation is happening. It's not an MTD conversation, but I'm sure you'll hear a lot more of that soon. And it's not my space to talk wider. But yeah, it's
it's good that it's even being discussed. To be honest, it's just good that it's happening.
It is, yeah. Discussions are ongoing.
Really,
Emma will be able to link in as we can with the right people on that. And just while I've got the mic, I've really enjoyed today. I know the problem with these chats is you set some time setting the scene. I'd be more than happy to come back and just make it no intros, no nothing, just rapid questions.
Yeah.
And we try and break a world record on answering questions, because going back to my point at the very beginning, Robin, is what is the really important thing now? The really important thing isn't whether you like it, love it. It isn't whether you're aware of it, because people are. It's do you know the detail you need to know, and are you going to potentially look back and be one of the group of people that's left it too late? And I think being on here probably is a sign that you won't. There's obviously that sort of progressive mindset to lean forward. So get to the detail, sweat the detail, and anything we can do at all to help. Sam's discussed his support, but I'd love to come back and try and say, right, could we break a world record in the number of questions answered in a 1 hour webinar, where it's just a group on here, technically keep firing away? I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. So I'll leave that.
Do you think he's feeling a bit threatened, Robin, because we did about 80, 90 yesterday, and we might have boasted about it? I think he is. Yeah.
I just won't be allowed to speak. That will be the way you get the world record. So I'll bring on Jim and Sam for the team and Emma, and I'll just sit here and watch. Thanks for having us.
Can I just do the very, very, very last question, and I'll answer it first, so you know how short the answer can be. 2 final questions: the immediate next action that anyone on this webinar should take, and is MTD just a click of a button? So I'll go first. The next action you should take, if you're not already in therapy, is to go to accountantstherapy.co.uk/join-now and join us, and you can avail yourself of a free month of membership. Otherwise, I'm looking at engagement letters and signing my clients up to MTD for April. Is MTD just a click of a button? No. Let's let Tom go next.
Yeah, I would be saying, we've got our course MTD Together coming up soon, where we're going to be doing a webinar every month, where there's a sort of a process that we're going to be looking at in particular. So we'll be doing that once a month, and then straight after that webinar, we're going to be having a focus group where we're in the peer group. We're going to be talking about how we're going to be working together and making sure we all support one another and give each other accountability. And if we face problems, we can then go away to our professional bodies, and Sam and Craig can get the answers. And is it a click of a button? Definitely not. I just see it the same as I do VAT. You've got to do a lot of the groundwork to then be able to click that button at the end. And as I explained to my clients, I could easily go to B&Q and buy a chainsaw, but honestly, you should not let me loose with it. And bookkeeping is exactly the same. If you don't know what you're doing, you can do a lot of damage. So that'd be my thing.
Emma?
Okay, one thing you could do, echo what you said, Robin, about getting signed up, start getting ready, get all your ducks in a row before April. If you're encountering stuff, talk to your PBs. We do want to hear from you, genuinely. So let us know what you're seeing on the ground so that we can raise it. Is it a click of a button? No, it's all about the bookkeeping, really, isn't it?
Sam, we're going to make Craig go last.
Well, look, yeah, Emma said it there. It's all about the bookkeeping. So MTD itself is not a click of a button, but once you get your bookkeeping right and you build those processes, the submissions are a click of a button. What should people go and do next? Everybody should go and read the agent step-by-step guidance in the toolkit, but specifically Andrew is in the chat, and 4 years, Andrew's been threatening to have a coffee with me, and he only works down the road. So Andrew specifically should put that call in and invite me down for that coffee. But yeah, go on, Craig.
He needs to come back into therapy first. That's
Ah.
his first action. Then he can go for the coffee. Now,
And we
Craig,
did have a software vendor yesterday saying that MTD is only north of Newcastle that anyone in HMRC understands it. So Newcastle and North apparently is the hub for MTD at HMRC.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to, well, on the thing to do, crack the agent service account, particularly if you've not did it in VAT.
Yeah.
Like, just get no regrets, get it done, think of it, and then that opens up the gateway. It's one less thing you need to think about. Don't leave that to the last minute. I'm really tempted to say it is a click of the button and it's really easy and everybody could. But let's be honest. There is unrepresented taxpayers in the UK right now that manage their self-assessment. And there will be unrepresented taxpayers in the UK after MTD. Some will choose to use agents, accountants, and bookkeepers. If done right, whether it's bridging or whether it's using accounting software, whether it's linked to banks, this is a phenomenal opportunity to be able to improve your business flows and make your business more productive. We've seen that in VAT, and people have different experience on it. Go and check the valuation online. And again, when I say throwaway statements like that, I don't mean for everybody. I'm talking about across the population. That's the view I have. I can't comment on every 800,060. No, it's not a click of the button, but when done well, it will help modernise and make businesses run better. I'm confident at a global scale.
thank you. So we're horrendously over time, but we really, really appreciate that you've been able to answer all the questions today. There's been lovely things being said in the chat with lots of appreciation for you guys coming and a lot of appreciation for the hat and our disguise, Sam. I love that. That's absolutely made my day. Just a reminder to everybody that we start MTD together next week at 1 o'clock. So the thought that we're going to look at practical guidance for the next 6 months of MTD to get people ready. And again, if you're not already a member, get yourself as a member so that you can avail yourself of at least the very first one or very first installment of this Together course because we think it's awesome, obviously. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We will see you later in chat if you're a member, and we'll see you around if not. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.